And hello, Instagrammers and YouTubers alike. Greetings and welcome to Retro Direction, my new retro game reviewing channel. And this is Michael here with you tonight. And now, what we're going to be looking at over the next few evenings is some very obscure and overlooked, I'd say, fighting game gems on the PlayStation. And tonight we're going to be looking at Zero Divide 2, as you can see here. So, first of all, let's get right into it. Let's go into training mode so I just can give you a brief rundown of the actual game. Now, first of all, as you can see, the roster of fighters here consists of robots, and most of them are humanoid. You get the odd two or three that aren't, but for all intents and purposes they are mainly humanoid robots. Now, these two at the end here are the unlockable bosses. So you fight this penultimate guy, Nox, and Eve is the last boss. Now, more on these two later, but for now what we're going to do is get stuck into a little practice just to give you an idea of what we're up against. Okay, let's choose this particular background. And right, now first of all, this was released in the late 90s. The exact year I don't recall at the moment, and I, being the old fart that I am, I forgot my glasses and I couldn't find them, so I couldn't read the back of the box or my usual research here. But anyway, released in the late 90s, I'd say 97, 98. So first of all, as you can see here, we've got a couple of robotic fighters facing off against each other. I'm in practice mode, and now we're going to get the negatives out of the way. Now, first of all, one of the negatives is I'm reviewing the UK version, so unfortunately if you play it on a CRT, it's got borders and it's about 17% slower compared to the US or Japanese versions. And the other negative thing is, aside from this particular backdrop, the others are really nothing to write home about. They're as basic and as bland as they come, which is a little bit unfortunate, because when you have a really quality fighting game, you want some good backgrounds as well. And for me, they're just as important as the fighters that fight upon them. Anyway, that little gripe aside, this background I've chosen here is the ice level, which I think is the best of the bunch. It's got a few snowflakes falling around the fighters and ice crystals in the background that surround them. Now, gameplay. First of all, if you don't have a Saturn, if you've never had a Saturn, and if you've never played Virtua Fighter 2 and you were always curious as to how Virtua Fighter 2 plays, then look no further. Zero Divide 2 plays exactly like Virtua Fighter 2, and there are no differences whatsoever. And I'll give you an idea here. First of all, let's go into the command list. Now, as you can see, the moves, let's go back to the beginning bit. There you go. So the moves are very much Virtua Fighter. So there you are. Your three punches, your PPKs and triple PKs, exactly the same as Virtua Fighter in every way. Even to the basic layout of the buttons. You've got three buttons, guard, punch and kick. And then from there, depending on your various joypad inputs, you can perform various combinations, some more or less complex than others. And as you see, the further down the list you scroll in the command list, when you pause it, the more complex the moves and combinations become. Anyway, gameplay, let's try it out. As you can see, the same as Virtua Fighter. Now, those of you who have both machines, like myself, and like I'm sure countless retro collectors among you, you'll know exactly where I'm coming from here. Okay, now, let's start with a few unique traits about this game. Now, first of all, you can probably see where Sega's Fighting Vipers could have possibly drawn its inspiration from when it comes to armor breaking. So as you can see, the armor on your opponent is coming away there, revealing their innards, or let's say their wire framework. So that's one thing. You can destroy chunks of armor on your opponent. And the other thing is that, as you can see here, the more you push your opponent towards the edge, they cling to the edge of the arena for dear life. And you have to use your skill and to run up there and stomp on their hands so they fall off. Now that's easier said than done. So the way to get a ring out is to do a juggle move. But anyway, let's try this one. There you go, ring out. Ha 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 ha, he's gone. So let's go into story mode. I've got to press reset. So anyway, I'm going to go into story mode. We're just going to sort of play through it. Now for the purposes of the video, I've given myself infinite health with my Explorer cartridge. And it's story, isn't it? Yeah. Yes, I've got infinite health on, so I won't die so easily. So we won't be doing too many retries. Oh, here it is. One player. Here you go. So we're going to select 0. Now you'll get an idea of what the other fighters are about. So I've got about, okay, let's say I've got some 15 minutes or so left of recording time, but this shouldn't take that long. Right, so here we're fighting against one of the non-humanoid characters. Now Tao is, well, to me he looks like a scorpion with a big stinger. So yes, you've got your usual end of round poses. It's a shame about the backgrounds. They could have been better in my opinion. Now the reason I'm reviewing the second one is because of its similarities in gameplay to the Virtua Fighter series. Now the unfortunate thing, when this was first released, well, both of them really, they were kind of overlooked. They weren't really met with rave reviews, which is really quite a shame, because I'm sure all the fighting game fans out there among you will agree that when you actually settle down and play these, they're really good. Now I remember when Zero Divide first came out, before I bought a PlayStation, and I thought, yeah, this is another one that looks really interesting. Now, the original Zero Divides did come out on the Saturn, the second one making a particular impact, but not so much so. Now, mainly because people thought, well, why do I want to play a game with robots that plays exactly like the VF series? And rightly so. Why would you? But if you're a fighting game fan, that doesn't really matter, because any game is bloody good, especially if it plays like this one. So other positive points, the graphics are very good. The fighters move extremely well. It's very smooth. It's all motion capture, and they're light sourced. They're high resolution. And as you can see, I'm destroying my opponent's armor here. Very soon she'll be left with not very much. Now this particular opponent, this, yeah, she's dressed up like a nurse. She handles really well. For a start, she's really fast, and she does really long combinations. She's very, very easy to use. But I like using Zero myself. He's kind of like a good all-rounder. You know, like on the cover of the Virtua Fighter games, Akira is like the star fighter. Well, Zero is kind of the star fighter here. Now he plays like a combination of Jackie Bryant, Akira, and Kage the Ninja from the VF series. He's like a good mix-up of both of those. And the various styles that the fighters use, they are based on martial arts. Yes, like Virtua Fighter. So Zero is kind of like, I'd say it's like a combination of Shotokan karate there with those stances. It's very, very similar. And the other ones use a combination of ninjutsu, Muay Thai, and various boxing techniques. So it's all interesting. And speaking of Muay Thai, my opponent here is adopting a Muay Thai stance. And he uses elbows and knees to sort of fight. So he's actually quite dangerous. This guy hits hard. Oh yes! Good. He just reminded me. You do have counter-attacks in this game as well. Let's see if I can do one successfully, but he just did one on me. Now, as you can see, my leg's exposed there because he knocked a chunk of my armor off. So that happens throughout the rounds. So it's really good. Yeah, so yes, there are counter moves. You can catch somebody's incoming punch or kick, and you can turn the tides on them. And yes, now sound effect wise, the usual thwacks and thuds and crackles. It's all basic stuff really, but the music is very good. Again, it's all Japanese pop and rock, which I really love. And yeah, some of the tracks are actually quite good. Now I'm sure there are some moves that aren't listed in the command list. I haven't discovered them yet, but there are special moves that you can perform. That big yawn there was my wife. She's probably fed up of me playing Zero Divide 2. Tough titty! Because I'm going to play Zero Divide 2. Unfortunately, some gamers are very lucky to have wives that love games. Mine doesn't like them. I'll tell you her highlight of gaming. I tried to get her into playing Assassin's Creed 2 on the PS3, and I dared to let her have the controller in her hands, and all she wanted to do was go up to little old ladies and beat them up. So there you go. That was the height of her fun. But some of them she does find interesting. Mainly the open world ones. So yeah, she's not all doom and gloom. She understands what I do. Now here I'm fighting against a version of myself here. There you are. I've beaten him anyway because. So if you do get hold of this game, do yourselves a favour. If your PS1s are modified to play imports, get yourselves the import one. And ramp up the difficulty a bit. Don't play it on easy. Play it on normal or hard, because it will give you a challenge. So as you can see here, now this is Nox. This is the penultimate boss. Now if you look at him carefully, and I mean look at him carefully, who does he remind you of? And I'm not talking Dural here. If any of you have played Last Bronx on the Saturn, he's pretty much Red Eye, complete with the big red eye on his forehead. So yes, as you can see, there's you can see where they gain the inspiration from. There we are. And this is the last boss. This is Eve. Now, don't worry about holding back, because she's a very attractive-looking boss, and she is. A bit angular, but she's still a very interesting boss. Oh, the theme music is very good. I'll let her knock me about a bit so you can hear the music. as you can see, having knocked her armor away. And there you have it. We've reached the end of the game here. We've completed it. And there's a little ending movie where Zero is cradling Eve. He clearly regrets having beaten the crap out of her, so he's going to sort of nurse her back to health, or do a Heihachi Mishima from Tekken and throw her off a cliff. You never know. But anyway, this is one example of an overlooked fighter. Now, yes, unfortunately, I don't have a hell of a lot of recording time left. Now, I will definitely be getting a video capture card. It's definitely on the cards. It's definitely coming. So the quality of my videos should increase drastically. So yes. Let's see how much time have I got. I've got about 3 minutes left. So here's just a quickie here. Let's choose Pixel the Nurse. And Io. Just to give you an example of how nimble Pixel actually is. I mean, she's really fun to play. Her punch combo, if you just keep pressing punch, she just does that, and it's good. She's very easy to use. There you go. Anyway, well, I hope you enjoyed this little review, and if you do find this game, I really would recommend getting it, especially if you're a fighting game fan, because I think it's really superb, and it's such a shame it was overlooked and you know, not reviewed so positively, because I think it is a quality bit of software. And you'll see what I mean. So yes, do yourselves a favour, try and find a copy, and I don't think you're going to be disappointed at all. And if you've played both Tekken and Virtua Fighter, you'll see exactly what I mean, because they play exactly the same as each other. It's quite amazing. It was like Sony was trying to say, we can do Virtua Fighter 2 as well, and we're going to make them robots to boot, just to make it more interesting, and they're going to hang off the edge of the arenas. So yeah, I mean, if you think back, you can just see that's what they were undoubtedly thinking. And what a good job they've done, I think. I mean, still, nothing is going to beat Virtua Fighter 2. But for a very good alternative on the PlayStation that plays exactly like it, you can't go wrong with Zero Divide 2. And incidentally, it was released on the Saturn as well. But if you can find that one, it doesn't look quite as sharp, but it's not bad. Anyway, I hope to see you soon, and the next game we'll be looking at is the Toshinden series, so stay tuned, and you know where you stand with retro.